It's the Fulhamish podcast, your independent voice of Fulham FC. My name is George Cooper and welcome to the show. Oh, I've been looking forward to this recording all weekend. Fulham, third win against local rivals Brentford on the bounce, courtesy of Alex Iwobi, that boy Harry Wilson, and an Ethan Pinnock own goal under the lights at Craven Cottage. The place was absolutely bouncing as we sent our little brothers back from whence they came. It's plenty of talking points this show, so we'll just get stuck straight in. I am joined by Mr. Drew Heatley, head of the Fulhamish website and long-term pundit. How you doing, mate? That's a big old grin I'm seeing on your face.
Well, it's mostly for that intro, mate. Thanks very much. Yeah, feeling pretty good. I was on the last loss to Brentford when I was on with Cam Ramsey and we got told off for swearing too much. And ever since then, it's been win. So pleasure to be back.
Yeah, I remember that podcast I was hosting at the time, and we were venting some frustrations. I feel like the swearing was somewhat justified. We may have tipped over the edge on occasion, but yeah, major mood change from the last time, that's for sure. AF is also with us. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Really happy to be on. My voice has just about returned, and I'm glad that we had a day between the game and the pod because, yeah, Sunday I sounded a little bit grovelly.
Yeah, on that lemon and honey. Your dulcet tones are coming through thick and smooth today, let me tell you, AF. We're also joined by Piers Cottage-Jones. How you doing, mate?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Coops. Excited to be here again. I've still not seen us lose when I've been on the pod, so let's keep that going, eh?
Yeah, don't curse it, mate. Don't curse it, but you're a lucky charm at the moment. You got some 3-word reviews for us, AF. Would you mind kicking us off?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Cam. So we've got Cam Calderon with Harry Wilson's Vendetta. We've got Random Fulham Stuff's version of that, which is not quite as kind, which is Harry Wilson's Bitches. Steve Sanders with Brentford No Good, which I just love the bluntness of it. Brentford No Good. Fulham Brooklyn with Iwobi One Kenobi, and Ron Teed with Badgered the Bees.
Very nice indeed. Harry Wilson's Bitches, that is quite something. Did you guys see somebody updated the Brentford Wikipedia homepage?
Yeah, I did.
So full name Brentford Football Club, nicknames the Bees, short name Brentford, yada yada yada, stadium capacity, all the usual things. Owner has been changed to Harry Wilson. So very nice touch, whoever did that. Drew, what is it with Harry Wilson and playing against Brentford? It's just like it's different level, you know. 7 career goals now for our Welsh winger. And do you think it's down to the fact that he just truly understands what this game means to the fan base and just brings his A game, or do you think there's something deeper to it? But he just can't stop scoring against Brentford.
I think everybody's got their bogey club and their bogey player, don't they? And I think Brentford is just Harry Wilson at the moment. You see, you know, the goal he scored yesterday. Just he must have thought when he got that, like, there's no way I'm missing it because he's in such a rich vein of form, and he's a bogey player against him. And yeah, good on him, to be honest. It was good to see him get another one today, because I think with Chukwueze breathing down his neck, just his mere presence being in the squad, I think it was great. And I think, as I say, when he got that chance, when that lovely ball, which I'm sure we'll get onto from Iwobi, he must have thought, yeah, this has got to be me, because at the moment I just can't stop.
Yeah, he's just club legend status, you know, and I just want to see how long this run can continue for him. You know, he's gonna like.
It's obviously a confidence thing, because he just loves playing against Brentford. But wouldn't it be great if he just had a really bad day out at Kew Gardens and just decided from that point on, just like, I've got some really bad hay fever, right? Brentford are my enemy. On to football.
Something like that, I'm sure. It was just an unbelievable performance from Fulham. It just completely outclassed the Bees, and it was very entertaining seeing how rattled a lot of their fan base were on Twitter afterwards, because we made them look so average. And I mean, they were saying that they made us look like prime Barcelona, and it was not a good performance from Brentford. But take nothing away from the team's performance, and to come back from 1-0 down in the manner that we went down as well, it was just unbelievable night. Great game. 8 p.m. kickoff time on Saturday as well. A few people were moaning about that because of transport issues, and understandable. But just under the lights, just always delivers, doesn't it? At Craven Cottage, there was a few eyebrows raised with the lineup. Most notably, the fact that there was no Kevin after he lit up Craven Cottage against Leeds with this cameo. Piers, were you surprised to see his omissions, or you think this was a Marco Silva sort of sticking to his guns and demonstrating he will not be swayed by public opinion?
I think we see it quite a lot with new signings that Marco doesn't put them in straight away. He really likes them to bed in, really understand his system. And almost it's like they have, no matter how much you've signed for or not signed for, you've got to prove yourself to Marco that you're going to take over the number one. I think I even remember when we signed Leno, he didn't start straight away. And that was one of the most obvious, you are our number one goalkeepers in the history of Fulham Football Club. So I think there's a bit of his challenging Kevin to really switch on and get into it all. And Iwobi is being pushed even more. We saw his dip in form towards the end of last season, but we know how good he was at the start of last season. So being able to enjoy him at his best now is really exciting. And for me, the thing I'm most excited for is when Kevin does finally start starting, to see Iwobi pushed into an 8 and all that creativity to be from a deeper berth, especially against those low block teams we struggle against quite a lot. No,
for sure. His general consensus that he's going to be the key, that sort of attacking spark that's going to unlock those defences in those his games where we play, perhaps teams that are lower than us in the league that we struggle to break down. I think that's very valid. It was a bit of a nervy start in many cases, I thought, from Fulham AF. The Brentford long throw that has been much talked about amongst the sort of football media proved like it could have been a bit of a challenge for us. But if it weren't for Bernd Leno, who seemed to save the flick on with his nuts. I just don't know whether you've ever seen that before. Goalkeeper save the ball from going in by his going ad.
We're just incredibly lucky he's got low-hanging nads, right? Like at the end of the day, that Bernd Leno can save us in every way possible. It makes me very happy that he's in our goal, and even happier now because we know that he can save those low shots as he needs to. But I think the long throws were an interesting one because as soon as they started, they're kind of like a toddler, right? They're really annoying, but once you work out how to deal with them, basically just put a massive Great Dane in front of them in Andersen, like you're kind of okay. Like you know that you can weather the storm, and it felt like that because every single long throw that came in, Andersen was under it and we were sorted, and that toddler wasn't quite so annoying anymore, and you could like kind of push him out of the way. But like it was quite funny from Brentford that they kept to the same throw-in technique. Neither one seemed to cause us like more harm than the last one. So I think we just got practiced at it. We'd obviously practiced in the week, and as time went on, I was just waiting for like a second dimension. So fair play to Keith Andrews. Like he has definitely upheld his, in my opinion, view that he's the most boring football manager in the Premier League by just going, I'm going to be one-dimensional, long throws, and it was rubbish to watch. But then Fulham, like I said to my dad early on in the game, I said, look, if we get this ball on the floor and Brentford want to throw it long, if we get this ball on the floor, we are miles better from them. And the minute we did that, we showed everything we needed to.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. It's a strange one for me because Brentford over the years have become sort of media darlings, and people say that the way the club is run and their attacking identity and all this, and they've seemed to have just reverted into these sort of like Tony Pulis, Barclays-era long throw-in merchants that, I don't know, I've seen a few articles from Brentford fan outlets saying that they're besotted, just to name check them, saying that they're sort of struggling for a bit of identity at the moment. And it definitely, they were a horrible team to watch, it has to be said. And yeah, they've come a long fall from grace, I would say.
Tony Pulis, you can kill the man, but not the idea. Not that he's been killed, but it's the team in red and white stripes with the long throws, and it's funny, isn't it, when you've got it, when it's instilled from a set piece coach, this wonderfully woke new football thing that we've got. It's suddenly great tactics, and let's fawn over it as if none of us were here 20 years ago when we saw Rory Delap stick the ball under his top, rub it, and launch it into the mixer. There's nothing new under the sun, but yeah, Brentford hugely different sides of the one that we played just 4 months ago. In my piece for BBC Sport this week, I was saying it was the game was illustrative of the importance of consistency. I think I've been quite vocal about our transfer business this season and our sort of slowness to get going, and I stand by all of it. But what I would say is that obviously we know we've got a really consistent squad that we've had for the majority of whom have been here for at least 2 seasons, and it showed on Saturday. Obviously they got picked. Bees got picked by the Buzzards over the summer, and we didn't. And we had that identity. Everyone's bought into Marco Silva's philosophy, and we were purring. And while they were looking like they were grasping for that identity that you mentioned, on the pitch, it was like they're flying the airplane and still trying to stick the wings on. So, and I think we saw that was going to be the case. I think we all kind of hoped and thought it could be, because you don't get your manager poached and then 3 of your best players leave, and then you're not going to storm up to third unless you're Bournemouth. So yeah, it was what I expected in many ways, but what I hoped for, I guess, and maybe expected a little bit. But it was good to see, and it's good to see that consistency come through from us as well, because I think as ZZ Tops Fulham said it on the website in his match review, why focus on the defeated when you can talk about the winners?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. We were very, very good. Especially, I think one of the most positive aspects of our performance was the way that we came back from going 1-0 down. I won't dwell too much on the goal, Pierce, but obviously it's just a very unfortunate error from Josh King. But I mean, it's the sort of player that he is, right? He didn't look as he made the pass. And some would say that was a symptom of the confidence that he normally plays with. But unfortunately, he's a young player, and, everyone makes mistakes. And I think the positive that we can take from that moment is the way that the players rallied around him, and the way that he himself rallied as a player and put in a really good second half performance before he eventually got taken off for Kevin, I believe it was. But you could see Iwobi immediately putting his arm around him, telling him to get his chin up. Every single player on that pitch was behind him, and I think, it was a really sort of big demonstration of the togetherness that this squad has, and it was great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you compared the squad togetherness, which has led us to the most super sub goals, compared to somewhere like United, where it's just in disarray. It seems like everyone hates each other. And that's testament to what Marco's building, who he's bringing in, how they're being bedded into it all. And I think it's so important to keep seeing that time and time again. We've seen a team who do us proud in so many different ways. We see them up for derbies, the 2 best performances this year being Chelsea and Brentford. We see that we know what it means to them. We see them supporting each other, coming off the bench and scoring goals. As you say there, we see Josh King in a moment that could absolutely break a player in a derby at home. And that turns out to be something that could really make him, with the support of everyone around him. And that just shows the spirit that we've got at the club. And it's really wonderful to see and heartening. And those moments of how you react to adversity, as you say there, whether it's missing a chance, whether it's being subbed off, or making a mistake in a game like he's done to give away a goal, to see him the next time he gets the ball, he's not head down, he's not nervous, he's not worrying, he's going, I'm proving myself again and again and again. And that's why we see him starting every game over a £30 million attacking midfielder who's playing really well off the bench so far in Smith Rowe. It's great to see, and long may it continue from Josh King.
For sure. I think there's credit needs to be given to Marco Silva here as well, from his sort of player manager perspective, in that you got a player who's made a bad error, and then just before half time he gets quite unfairly, I think, booked for diving in the penalty area on a challenge. I mean, fair enough if you don't want to get, I don't know. I think there was a strange decision, definitely very harsh booking. But yeah, he recovered well, but he was showing elements of frustration maybe, especially after that booking. And it would have been very easy at that moment for Marco Silva to haul him off at half time and bring on any number of the attacking players that we've got challenging for his place. But to stick with him, give him the chance to, settle his head and put in a good shift before eventually bringing him off a bit later in the second half, I thought was a very wise move.
He was also following instructions. Let's be honest, Marco Silva wants his attacking midfielders to drop in deep and play some of these passes so that we can actually break some of the press. And we've seen, I think probably the best example I've seen doing that before he kind of lost some of his legs was Tom Cairney. So it's absolutely wonderful to see Tom King Josh King to be doing the same things, dropping back and playing those no-look passes. I could blame in part Sander Berger for not being more aware to Damsgaard's like danger and presence, but Josh King's doing exactly what he's told to do. And I think I've never seen Marco take off a player for doing what he tells them to do. He takes them off when they are, we'll come on to it, but doing what Kevin was doing. I still love the guy, but like he doesn't like players that don't follow his instructions. So at the end of the day, Josh King was doing the right thing. That's what Iwobi was saying to him, right? He was saying, you're a great player, keep doing what you're doing. And he did. Like I saw his head drop for like maybe 2 minutes whilst he just got it screwed back on again. And then Brentford was scared again and snapping at his legs. So I knew that he was back to his best.
I think as well, you learn more in adversity, don't you, than you do when things are going well. And I think if you're going to have a couple of incidents in a game that sort of would rock you in any other way, like giving away a goal or like getting booked for diving, fairly or unfairly, I think if you can keep your head and then come out the other side with 3 points with the side anyway, I think that's probably the best case scenario. You're not going to get to your mid-20s and be a top elite player without having, adversity and obstacles in your way. So I think it's probably a net positive overall that he's had those sorts of things happen to him in a game where we've won anyway.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Drew, and the fact that he can make these mistakes, but ultimately, it wasn't as if he cost us the game, so it's almost like getting it out of the system. It was just really nice to see, like he put a post on X after the game saying, another big 3 points, thank you to the fans and teammates for supporting me and backing me up, and just every single player in the comments saying, strong mentality, my boy, Sess. Iwobi in there with Baller. It was quite a funny moment on the Fulham website afterwards where Iwobi spoke to Sky Sports News and he was asked about what he said to Josh King after that moment, and then apparently when Iwobi got the equaliser, Josh King went up to him and said, "Oh, thanks for that, mate. You got me out of a bit of a pickle," which is a really funny turn of phrase. You can't imagine many modern footballers using the word pickle in that context, in that moment, but lovely to see. Let's come on to the equaliser then. So Alex Iwobi getting us well and truly back in it, AF. It was, looping cross from Lukic. I think it was a cross. And then for me, I think like the Collins versus Muniz battle, he just does what he does best and just makes himself really awkward. His just sheer ungainly presence just sort of knocks Collins off stride. It was something that we saw time and time again throughout the match, just Collins really struggling to deal with Muniz. Opportunistic finish from Iwobi, but some, has to be said, poor defending from Brentford. But I mean, it was great to see Iwobi back on the score sheet, and he still had some stuff to do. They had to connect, and it was a good finish in the end, and I think, good attacking positioning.
I think my favourite thing, to be honest, about both the first and the second goal is that, yes, Muniz does not score either of these goals, but without him in the side, we don't score either one of them. Like, Brentford couldn't deal with Muniz at all, and that is because, he's got the limbs of a baby giraffe, and that did hamper him later on in the game. But there's so many times where they don't really know how to defend against Muniz, and they're so busy with him that they didn't really pick up Iwobi and Harry Wilson for either one of those goals in the way that they probably should have done. I think credit to Lukic for it was actually a shot that I think looped up off a Brentford player's foot. So he was shooting a lot more in this game. And it's one of the things that we've criticised the Fulham midfield for in previous games, where they were a bit static, not really doing anything for our attacking game. But Lukic was really at it yesterday. So the fact that he took the shot, Brentford couldn't deal with it. And it's a great finish from Iwobi. He still has a little bit to do. It's mainly kind of composure, which sometimes I think he's lacked, by a really good finish from him. But again, credit goes to Rodrigo Muniz, because he puts himself about and he's creating space in a, dare I say, a Mitrovic-like approach that I don't think we had consistently seen from him. A lot of the time I was wondering whether he was a little bit off the pace. In previous years, this is either he was a little bit off the pace or he just hadn't really adapted fully to how Fulham wanted to play, and that's why he was more a little bit bit part. But now he's absolutely integral to our attacking play, and I know that he will be our starting striker going forwards.
Yeah, he just seems to have more of that talismanic presence, that Mitrovic did have. And I think that comes with confidence, it comes with game time. But you saw it as a very cultured performance, I thought, yesterday. And obviously the role that we talk about that he played in the equaliser, but also in when we went 2-0 up, 90 seconds later, Drew, he plays the ball over to Iwobi. I mean, Iwobi puts a laser precise ball into Harry Wilson, who just sweeps it in first time. It was just it was like watching ballet in motion. It was just, I think, will be a contender for our goal of the season just for how quickly it flowed. But yeah, just a wonderful team goal. And I mean, let's talk about that Iwobi pass, because I'm hard pushed to remember a sexier pass at the Craven Cottage for a long time.
Yeah, it was illustrative of his performance, wasn't it? He had such a decent night, probably his best performance of the season, and obviously as well, you look on the Snapchat during the week and you see the cut on his ankle. We still don't really know what happened there, but he was obviously iced up, and you just think, oh, that's a natural way to sort of integrate Kevin in faster than you might have hoped for, but then obviously he doesn't. He starts and he shows exactly why he should. And I think, it's fantastic to see, because I think Iwobi is so versatile and so important to us in terms of his impact on the pitch and his impact in the changing room. And actually, I would hope that in a strange way, the biggest beneficiary of Kevin's arrival could well be Alex Iwobi, if he moves into that 8, as Piers mentioned earlier, could really unlock that position for us, which I think needs to be a bit more dynamic and needs to sort of lead that offensive charge a little bit more. So it could really work really well. So I think it could all come up Iwobi, but it seems to be doing so anyway. Fantastic ball to Wilson, as I say. When he gets that, he knows straight away he's got such that rich run of form. He's gonna finish that no problem. It was a lovely finish, and you're right. I think AF, you said we don't score these goals without Muniz. He had a fantastic game as well, all round. Obviously had the ball in the net, and I think there's starting to be a bit of a VAR campaign against Roddy, which I'm not too pleased about. If the Brentford player's lip was a little bit stronger, I think we might have got away with that, but never mind. But yeah, lovely goal, and really pleased for Iwobi.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on the actually, we'll come on to the Muniz disallowed goal. But yeah, I think I agree with you. It's like, if he hadn't have been bleeding, then we would have had a goal there. But obviously that's not a defence, is it? Like, it's only because he's bleeding is the reason that he's been chalked off. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it was just a beautiful goal. And I think Harry Wilson obviously just needs endless credit, because there are many players that would take a touch there, and that just allows that split second for the tracking defenders to, maybe slide in or intercept, or just a little second for the goalkeeper to position himself a little bit more. But it's just the speed of it in which it goes in, and just that beautiful finesse finish. Oh, unbelievable goal. And I'm sure it won't be the first that we see like that from Harry this year. Sammy earlier in the season was saying that he feels like this is Harry Wilson's season, and maybe that's coming into fruition.
I think we have to give Harry Wilson some extra credit as well. Look, we don't know every single ins and outs of deadline day, but we do know that there was a last minute, a deal sheet went in from Leeds. He probably thought he was going to Leeds at this point in time. Now, during that international break, to get your head screwed back on, to come back to Fulham and show absolutely unwavering commitment to hating Brentford, absolutely fair play, because he is. And also, to his first game back was against Leeds. I think he's done really well to not get his head completely turned from maybe a club that at the time, we've signed extra wingers. He could easily have, got his head down and thought, I'm not really going to be in this team. Maybe I'm not the main man anymore. And he's made sure that for the moment he is. And I think all our wingers are probably feeling the same. As long as they're performing at their best level, they've got a chance of being in the team, regardless of who we've brought in. So I'm really pleased that we've got professional players rather than ones that are throwing their dollies out the pram, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, can you guys remember the last time we had this much strength and depth as a squad? And everything that does, options off the bench and just broadens up the styles and the threats that we can bring on, but also just the competition for places and the motivation that will give each side. But I genuinely can't remember the last time I was this confident in looking at a Fulham bench and thinking that we've got so many options here.
It's the first time we've actually spent real money on wingers as well. So when you're even looking in those wing positions, we've all, not the first time, but it's the first time in a long time. And we're looking at, we didn't lose anyone of particular value other than Andres Pereira in the transfer window. We lost Willian, we've replaced that with a few who can actually run now. And it's an exciting time because I think we had our first summer where we didn't lose like a main talismanic player. Losing Paulinho, then we could have easily just gone, right, if we sell Anthony Robinson, it's a rebuild job all over again. But I think this was the first season where we could kind of build on it. So the fact that we signed 2 players that could probably get into our starting 11 really did bulk out that team to the point that I was saying our squad depth is already quite scary everywhere apart from the glaringly obvious, which is centre midfield. But if Iwobi becomes one of those, it is not a bad time to be a Fulham fan, apart from during the African Cup of Nations when we lose a few.
Yeah, let's not think about that for the time being. You know, we got a couple of months to go.
As well, on the depth point there, I think that the thing that really emphasises that is on Tuesday we're going to be playing Cambridge. There's a very good to strong chance that our midfield and attack for that game against lower league Cambridge is going to be Reed, Kearney, okay, fine. But then you've got Kevin, Smith Rowe, Chukwueze and Raul. That's not a bad cup side. That's not too shabby. I think that really emphasises the point you're making there about how strong our depth is at the minute and the competition for places. And at some other clubs with other managers, you get a bit worried about whether you're going to have sulking and people not quite as happy. But with Marco, you just never have that fear. He's just, as you say, such a good man manager. So yeah, for 20 or 25 quid on Tuesday, hell of a bargain.
Yeah. I mean, League Two opposition as well. I mean, it could be a right party. I'm sad I can't make it to that one actually.
Famous
We'll come on to we'll do a little cup preview at the end of this roundup of the Brentford game. But it wasn't too long until Fulham went 3-1 up in the first half. Beautiful Andersen crossfield pass to Sess. It was like Andersen of old, seeing those ones at land again. I think we'll come on to Andersen because I think he was had a superb game, best of the season so far on Saturday. Sess whips it in, beautiful ball in off Pinnock. Off his back, he kind of looked like he sort of did the Dennis Adoy back trick, but then it sort of looped back into the goal. Very weird, unfortunate own goal. But as Liz pointed out in the quick take, Drew, own goals are our top scorer this year so far with 2. I mean, if it's working, long may it continue. But yeah, I think the plaudits here has to go to Andersen and Sess for that one.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're forcing the opposition into making these errors, then it's as good as. It doesn't really matter, does it? But it's a lovely little quirk for the beginning of the season that the OGs have been helping us. Although the OG wingers certainly did help us as well on Saturday, so that was another one. But yeah, I mean, Andersen. I'm writing a piece at the moment about Andersen for the website because he's having a storming start to the season, isn't he? And people talk about 30 million on a player who's going to have no resale value, and you're thinking, well, actually, there's a great argument to be spending money on players who are going to contribute to the here and now. And yes, okay, he took a little bit to find his feet, but he didn't have a terrible season last year by any stretch of the imagination. I think he probably could have done better in those incisive cross-field passes that we would have expected as part of that £30 million package. But he's starting to show it now. So happy days. He's gone to emulate the player he had on his bedroom wall growing up, Breda Hangeland, with his haircut, and he's starting to play like him as well. So, yeah, I was really pleased to see that from Andersen, and all round this season, I think he's the perfect person to take over from TC long term in terms of on pitch and off pitch at this club, I think. So that was a joy to see, and it's always nice to see Sess in and amongst it as well. He gets that assist even if it's for an own goal, and another player who I just want to see start every game. He's had a mixed start to the season, I think, in terms of filling in for different people in different areas, but it means he's getting game time, right? And sometimes your versatility can be your Achilles heel in football, but sometimes it can be your greatest strength. So at the moment we're seeing it be the latter for Sess.
No, for sure. He's coming on leaps and bounds, I think, since the sort of slightly nervy start. It's just like with Andersen, it's sort of like the opposite of Samson, who lost his powers when they cut his hair. Andersen cuts his hair and then regains his powers. So, hopefully we can see some more of those cross-field balls finding Sess in the coming games. Brilliant performance from our Danish centre-half. Wasn't long afterwards that Muniz found the score sheet. We mentioned it earlier, but let's get into it in a little bit more detail. I mean, first and foremost, it was just an absolute thunder bastard of a shot. Nearly took the net off. It was, nothing that Kelleher could have done about that. But yeah, he jumps up, and I don't know, for me, it was just incredibly soft. Piers, he goes 50-50 for the ball. There's no intent there. Yes, he may have caught Collins on the lip. Yes, he may have busted his lip. Yes, there may have been blood streaming down his face, but I don't know. It's one of those where if it gets given, you're like, yeah, that's the right decision. But I don't know, if it was Andersen at the other end who caught a flating elbow from Thiago, I think we'd probably be moaning about it. I don't know. What's your honest opinion of it? Fulham hat aside, do you think it was a goal or not?
I think what's really tricky with these decisions is the confirmation bias you then get from VAR when they send the ref to the monitor. So I've seen two different angles of this. On one of them, it's is it Collins? It wasn't it? Pulling Muniz down, which is, I mean, Muniz has jumped super early there, and he's expecting to hang like some kind of superhero. But then it looks like Collins has pulled him down on that side, which leads to his arm flailing around, because Collins is also not near the ball. If Muniz doesn't hit him with his hand, he's still not heading that ball. So from that angle, you're going, hang on, well, this is, if anything, a foul the other way round. But then you look at the angle the ref was shown, which is where the blood's come from, and you see that he does catch him in a... I'm confused on that angle of how he's caught him so strongly. But the only angle it looked like the ref was shown was that one with him catching him. So the ref's been told, checking for foul play, go and have a look, here's your angle. You're not allowing the ref any opportunity for independent thought in that process. And whilst this one, I do think it's probably the right decision, there'll be other instances like we had with Muniz at Chelsea, and there'll be more to come, where this way of working is just going to create bad decisions being made by people not... people giving the refs no opportunity to actually make the correct decision. But I think what we're sad about as well is just, it was such a good finish. It just deserves to be a goal for that alone. And I think we need to just in football cancel out things so we make sure we get flare goals in. The flare goal rule means everything else is fine.
Yeah, like you get a couple of seasons these sort of like game. It's like reviews in cricket. You can sort of like go back and like, yeah, no, that would have been a banger. Let that one slide. Any other takes on this? Do we agree with Piers? Disagree with Piers? I feel like it's a fair assessment.
I agree with him, but I think Rodrigo Muniz is one of these players that in real time looks incredible, but then as soon as you slow it down, he's gonna, like with VAR, they're gonna find a lot of things that he does. But similar in a murder trial, right? Really similar. You look for intent, and there's no intent from Muniz because he has no intention around what he's doing. He is pure flair and just off instinct, and that's what we love about him. But I think it's starting to, you say the same thing with the Chelsea one. He only gets that goal cancelled out because he is doing an amazing bit of skill and he hasn't thought about where he's putting his foot. Neither should he. We don't want Muniz having to control each one of his limbs, apart from his right foot, to rifle it in the bottom corner. But I think there is an element to his game that needs a little bit of refining, because otherwise we can say, okay, a lot of these decisions are going against us, but I think they always are. When you slow down time and you look at Muniz's challenges, they're going to continue to cause the same problems unless the refereeing changes, which, since we can't agree on that, maybe there's an element of his game that can be slightly refined, even if it's just being slightly less explosive with his hands.
I just think it's his ungainliness and his, at times, sort of perceived clumsiness that makes him the striker that he is. I would argue that, I don't know, if he was a little bit more coordinated, then you wouldn't get that element of unpredictability with him.
He's like a slightly coordinated Jar Jar Binks a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know how he does it, but he's like he's flailing around, but he gets the job done.
I think as well, it's a bit, it's a shame because strikers are ultimately judged on how many notches they get on the goal scoring column, and we've touched quite nicely on his contribution to the game, and without getting the goal, he's very influential in everything that we did, and it was a good night at the office for Muniz, but he obviously needs that validation and that reward. It's a shame he didn't get it, but then obviously with contract watch, watching everything he does off the ball, not in the game, and he's grabbing the corner flag and displaying the badge, and he's running over and embracing Raul Jimenez, who's obviously acting as a mentor to sort of sharpen him up as the next generation of Fulham striker. And you combine that with the quotes from Marco that hopefully will have some news for us soon. You've got to think, but in the next few days or so, we're going to get a contract announcement. Surely before the end of September, I'd hope.
Oh, it'd be gorgeous. A cause for celebration when that does eventually come through. Do you notice again, he was, after he got the goal before it got chalked off, he was once again singing along to his song as they were charting out from the Hammersmith end. You could see him mouthing along and like nodding his head. A bit like that sort of like Jay-Z gif. But yeah, God love him. Yeah, hopefully it will be soon. I just wanted to talk about like generally, I've seen a few different candidates for our man of the match. It was a great all-round team performance, has to be said, but I think for me it's between Andersen and Iwobi. So Andersen obviously bullied Thiago throughout. Beautiful diagonal ball success for our third. It was one of his 9 successful passes like that, which, as I said, is like Andersen of old. 11 clearances. Iwobi, obviously, great reactions for the goal. That visionary pass to Wilson. Big leadership that he showed after the King mistake. Also, like, as you said, the fact that he managed to make that miraculous recovery from the week, where his ankle was literally the size of a grapefruit. I don't know what the physios have been doing in order to get that back down to size. But yeah, gents, have you got any other suggestions that you'd like to put in there? But if not, who would you go for between those two? We'll start with you, AF. What do you reckon?
I haven't got anyone else to add to the mix necessarily, because whilst Harry Wilson was incredible in those moments, I don't think the rest of the game he was necessarily a superstar of the match. I think that my choice between those two would be Iwobi, purely because if you take him out of both of those key moments, we probably don't win the game. And it was the first for him to really have a game like he did yesterday. We've had a lot where we've been waiting for the Iwobi from probably about 40 games ago to come back. And yesterday was the first time that we saw that. Andersen, it's actually, because he's played so much like this for the rest of the season so far, it's actually been something we take for granted almost. So it's very close between the two. But I think if you take Iwobi out of that performance, we don't win the game.
Would have to agree. Drew, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I kind of echo that. Especially, you play in that position of the pitch. You need your impact and your contribution is going to be match changing, isn't it? And unless we were under the cosh for 90 minutes and we managed to sort of scrape a point, I think Andersen's done a great job, but he's doing his job, and I think Iwobi's changed that game, hasn't he, with his presence on the pitch? So it's probably Iwobi edges it.
Hat trick for Iwobi, Pierce.
Yeah, but actually I would say Andersen just to be different. And the reasons I'd say that, if you look at the Cess goal, where we've really I get so frustrated when we slow it down massively, because when we're playing one touch or two touch, we're so incisive at cutting past it. Every Motspur Park Life video, we see them doing all this one touch work, and then we never see it as often on the pitch. But we see in the build up to the Cess goal, they slow it right down. They're on that side, comes to Andersen, who then, with the Brentford team all pulled over, whips it across the Cess to whip it into the box for Pinnock to think he's his son playing for Fulham. And that ability he has for teams to not be able to press in the way you'd want to, because he can just unlock things as soon as you try too much on there. And that quarterback, the Pirlo style almost, is really important for us. But also, if you look at the Brentford chances, and yes, we've played really well. They've been poor, but they've probably had 3 chances in the whole game. They've had the King pass, which is obviously a gimme. And then they've probably had 2 from long throws. And if you think how many long throws went into the box in that game, watching more like a rugby game than a football game, then there's the Leno gonad save, and then Bassey's blocked one with his thigh. Those are their only chances in this whole game, and they weren't really proper ones, I'd say, as well, which just shows Andersen as a leader at the back. I think with the captain's armband, he's really able to, I think he likes being the man and being the one who can go and legally chat to the ref rather than being told to go away. I think this is all part of his aura and him becoming the best version of himself. So for me, Andersen was really spectacular. And yeah, so just to be different. But Iwobi, thank goodness you're so good at football because you're a wicked human. In a good way. That makes it sound like I'm saying that in a bad way. Yeah. Phenomenal player.
No, I get you. Yeah, I think, I agree with all of the above. Those two, very, very hard to choose, but equally influential. I think shout out has to go to Marco Silva's game plan. I think he stuck to his guns when there was a lot of noise around Whether or not to start Kevin, his response to the King situation, I think like pushing Lukic further forward and encouraging him to get a little bit more involved in this sort of attacking third as well, pay dividends. So I think it was a Marco Silva masterclass as well as everyone else's. So yeah, also just before we wrap up part one, special mention's got to go to Kevin McDonald, who was spotted in the Hammersmith end, I believe, and then again at the Golden Lion after the game, enjoying a few free drinks, no doubt. But yeah, that's a nice little surprise to pop up. Did you cross paths with him at all, Drew or AF? Did you see him?
I sat next to Farrell Monk of this parish. I was lucky enough to spend 90 minutes with him, and afterwards I said, "You're going to the Duke?" And he goes, "No, I'm going to the Riverside to have a beer with Jeff Proust and Kevin McDonald." I was like, "Right, cheers, mate. Am I NFI then? I'll see you later, mate. No worries." So should have just gone to the Lion afterwards, and then I'd just met him there.
Yeah, he should have done. Oh, dropping you to hang out with his famous buddies. I see how it is, Faz. But yeah, could you not have come along for one?
Oh no, I was with my dad and my brother, so I thought I'd head to Hammersmith instead. So because I don't know when it opens and whatever side where it takes out, you've got to stand out at Lemmings, and I was getting thirsty, so decided to leave.
Maybe another time. Always welcome, K-Mac. Always welcome. Anyway, that will do for part one. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with so many questions, and we will also be looking ahead to Tuesday's clash against Cambridge United under lights in the Carabao Cup. It's the Fulhamish podcast. George Cooper here. I'm joined by AF, Drew and Pierce. Thank you for everyone who got in touch with your questions. Pierce, David Zoo asks, who put the ball in the Brentford net?
Harry fucking Wilson. That's the first time I've sworn on the pod. So deserved.
Yeah, I tease you up. It would have been very difficult to avoid that one, I'm afraid. That was a bit of a hospital pass on the old poddy map. I purposely didn't give it to Drew after our collective performance last time he was on following the Brentford game. So yeah,
I'm so pleased you didn't. The other day I had my 6-year-old say to me, "Daddy, we need to talk about your swearing." So I'm glad you didn't. I'll stick out of that.
Had he listened to that post Brentford pod?
Avid listener, no, he just has to spend his every day with me, and this guy slips up every so often. So
hey, we're only human, Drew. We're only human. We kind of touched upon this a little bit earlier, AF, but Luke Hare London asks, is Marco turning Muniz into the dark arts Mitro we've all been craving? Now, we obviously mentioned about him sort of like getting stuck in, flailing limbs and all this, that and the other, but can we speak a little bit on just the general kind of, I think I'll put it as like talismanic presence, but he definitely, this season seems to be growing more and more into the kind of, I'm the man, I'm the front man, I'm the man to lead this line.
I think he is, and I think the best way we can do this is saying what he's picked up from the strikers that he's played with. He's played with Mitro and he's played with Raul, and I think that he's picked up some of the best traits from both of them. I think that with his feet, he is starting to become much more skillful than we saw Mitrovic be within those times. I am seeing him as a true number 9 in the fact that I don't see him drifting out wide very often at all. He is always the kind of spearhead to our attack, which we know that Marco loves. I think if you saw him all over the pitch, it would be chaos because he'd be getting involved in midfield battles, he'd be getting involved in the left wing. I'm really glad that you pretty much see him in his position all the time. But in terms of becoming this talismanic presence, I think the best way that we can show it is that there was a time where we were arguing between Raul or Muniz, and I was really on the fence between. I was thinking, I'm not sure who is going to be the answer, if it's either of these are going to be the answer. And yesterday, 2 days ago, we saw him put in an incredible performance. He got his goal chalked off. He didn't score a goal. And a few seasons ago, we would have been saying, where is the goals? We need the goals from him. And we're actually saying here, no, he did more than enough in his performance to warrant starting in our next Premier League game. And I think that's kind of, Mitrovic was scoring every other game, so there was that level of it. But I think Muniz has time to grow into that. I am happy for him to be that choice. Whereas I do see with Raul that he is probably our backup option with that experience that is clearly moulding Muniz into a better player. Marco Silva takes time to make people better players, and if he has faith in Rodrigo Muniz, then I will continue to keep that faith. I remember on a Fulhamish Live last year, Drew said that he's absolute. He's gonna end up being about a £75 million player or something. And at the time, I laughed for a good 10 minutes. But he's probably right, because it's only going in the right direction. It might be this season, it might be the next season. But looking at the transfer prices that are around there, he has a value to Fulham, but he also has a value out in the market that we would never have thought of seeing from the young Brazilian that we got with very little experience, who got no games at Middlesbrough. It's insane to see his trajectory move how it has.
You failed to mention one other mighty striker who he was under the tutelage of, and I'm very confused at why Carlos Vinicius wouldn't be part of that dark arts learning.
To be fair, he reposted a video of Carlos Vinicius scoring an absolutely amazing bullet header. So if he starts scoring bullet headers, then I'll start giving all of the credit to Vinny.
Hopefully not bullet elbows like Vinny was doing before he left.
There is that.
There is an element of that. Funny you should say. He's great. Carlos Vinicius. He's always pops up in the comments of our current squad. DC. It's like he's missing the boys, and he's.
He definitely didn't want to go, did he? He'd still be there if he could. He absolutely did not say, "Do you know what? I quite fancy leaving and going to Gremio or wherever he's at."
Nah, yeah. Oh, part of me does miss him, but yeah, I think that Muniz is just gonna go from. I can't see. I genuinely do believe the sky's the limit for this player. He's got so many attributes which make him just so unorthodox. I feel like the great strikers that you think of, they've all got their kind of unique style and the thing that makes them very difficult to play against. The Muniz has got that, and he's adding finishing into his ever expanding arsenal. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what Muniz is capable of this year. We've got another question here from Fred Martin Drew, who asks, do we strangely have a greater chance of Europe this year, even with improvement of Spurs and United, brackets-ish? Villa, Forest, Newcastle, Brentford are all worse off than last season / off the boil. And although they will improve, the quality we can unlock going forward could put us in the mix. Now, I think we have to be honest with ourselves, and going into this season, especially before the kind of deadline day flourish, I don't think any of us were given ourselves a prayer of Europe. But I think now, seeing what I've seen, I think that this Brentford game could genuinely be the springboard for the rest of the season, and the plethora of attacking talents that we now find ourselves with. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling very, very excited for what is to come this year. And I think it's safe to say that at times, with your writing, Drew, you shared a similar opinion. But are you also now kind of getting this glimmer of optimism, or are you more kind of cautiously optimistic?
No, I spent the whole summer being a grumpy old man about lack of signings and things like this, and I'm rehabilitated, and I'm sort of looking ahead with an optimism for the season. I think we've got a strong squad. I don't think we have a big squad. So I think, all things considered at the moment, we are absolutely, if things go well and we don't have an injury crisis, I think, yeah, we're capable of doing almost, whatever we want to do in this league in terms of getting into that sort of upper top 8. I think it's completely possible with the players we've got. What we don't want is to have one or two injuries in the middle away from sort of that falling apart somewhat. So I think it is completely doable. I think you've got, you're right. Last season you have clubs like Forest, who you'd never expect to have been up in that top 6 and top 4 for most of the campaign. I don't think they're going to do that again. They may be replaced by a Spurs, or but there's always going to be that recycling of the expected and the unexpected, and so. In short, I think you've got as good a chance of being in that top 8 as we did last season. But it's just that question, isn't it, of, when do you start looking at the table? When does it start shaking out? Is it after 10 games, 15 games, whatever? But what I will say is that, this start, when it was Chelsea and, the VAR farce, and, we're sat in the bottom 3 and we've got to sit there through that international break, and you think, God, has it been a good start to the season? I thought 2 points from 2 tough games was all right, and then now it's looking not great. And now you look at it and you think, well, bloody hell, it's actually a superbly strong start after 5 games. 8 points on the board and the positive goal difference, and so yeah, it's all completely up for grabs. I will reserve my definitive answer until another 5 games have passed, I think.
I think you're so spot on there as well, mentioning our form so far this season. Defensively, I think we've actually been really solid. Particularly not having Jedi has been really interesting. But if you look at the Brighton game, I don't think we've created a lot there at all. Look at the United game, we've not created a lot there either for me. Chelsea, we should have won, robbed, put that aside a bit. Leeds, I don't think we've created a lot either. And then we go to 25 touches in the Brentford box in the first half, which is the most of any team this season. So we're seeing this evolution of this attacking potential. And if we've got 8 points from 5 games, and head to head, all those results are better or the same as last season, with the exception of Chelsea. You go, that's a good litmus test of where we are so far, and the fact we're evolving, we're improving, and we're starting to find a bit of momentum into it, which is really exciting. Because I think, as we've mentioned before, when it comes to AFCON time, we're going to need a lot of points in the bag potentially to be able to ride some rough storms.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, yeah, but AFCON is going to be really interesting for us because, as you say, Drew, like we don't have a massive squad, although it is a very strong squad. But I guess, like, you know, one of the players that we do have that will not be going to AFCON, but we've got on our bench and perhaps struggling to find a place for is ESR. We got a question on him from Ethan, who asks, how do we deal with Emil Smith-Rowe? Was pushing for a start after a couple of good sub appearances, but we simply can't drop JK. Piers, I'm going to chuck this one to you because I think like most of the fan base will be in agreement that Josh King is somewhat undroppable at the moment, and we've got this real talent on our hands, and we wouldn't want to stunt his development. But then it does put our previous record signing in a bit of a tough spot. Who I doubt he'd be all that happy not having a starting place given him where he's come from and I guess what he was expecting from this transfer. But how do you see the whole ESR sort of debate, saga, whatever you want to call it, panning out for the rest of the season? And what do you think his role in the squad is, from now effectively?
I think he's quite unlucky at the minute, because I think he's actually been really good every time he's come on this season. And the King project versus Smith-Rowe, who also is a project in himself, is a really interesting debate. I was actually really hoping he'd start the last 2 games for Leeds and Brentford at home. I was hoping we'd play only one of Lukic-Schauberger, put Iwobi in the 8 and have Smith-Rowe on the left and just go sort of a bit more full throttle attack with Kevin to then start bending in, becoming part of the squad. It is blending in. To have Kevin then blending into the squad off the bench. Marco didn't do that. I don't see him doing that for Villa away. So it becomes a bit tricky for Smith-Rowe to find that place. But as we've seen with Harry Wilson last season, where he wasn't in the 11 much at all, and then by the end of the season he's worked him into, and then by the end of the season he's made himself undroppable. I think Smith-Rowe can see that and take real solace that even though he's not starting at the minute, he's playing so well right now when he's coming off, and he knows he's contributing to the team, that he will get his chance. And when he gets his chance, he's going to be in a really good position to take it.
Yeah, I think his quality will shine through ultimately, but it's I've got every faith in Marco, who will be able to find how he can best fit in and best get the best out of ESR. But I genuinely do believe that the depth that we've got at the minute is one of the best things for him. We want to see him fighting for his place, geared up, putting in those performances, and I think we're seeing the best out of him given the situation. So we'll see how it all pans out.
I do feel for him a bit as well, because this time last season we were talking about him knocking on the England door, and now we're talking about him knocking on the Fulham door. So it's been quite a tricky time for him, I think, adjusting and adapting. But he is a quality player, and I'm sure he's going to have a wonderful season, and we're going to see the best of him coming through very soon in the 11.
Yeah, for sure. Right, before we wrap up, a quick look ahead to Cambridge United, who were playing the Carabao Cup on Tuesday night. One really nice move I think is worth mentioning from the club is that the return of Kids for a Quid is back. So I think that's a great initiative, one that we used to see a lot more back in the day when the likes of me, AF and Piers, I think Drew may have still been in the teens at that point, but we were slipping in for a quid. But it's great. I think that it's something that Fulham has really taken their finger off the pulse over recent years, is like getting that younger generation through. And I think that ticket prices have meant that the likes of Brentford and other local clubs have picked up a few more of the youth. So it's good to see these initiatives come through. So hats off to the club for that. Speaking of yesteryear, so the last time we played Cambridge was a 1-0 away win that sealed promotion from Division 3. In the 1996-97 season. Drew, were you there in attendance on that day?
I was there in attendance that day, mate. Yeah, I got. It was the last game of the Mickey Adams promotion season. I was there with my dad, and before the game, I got elbowed in the face by somebody by accident. Turned around, and it was the dad from the old Oxo adverts. So that also dates it. You have to Google that one, kids, on YouTube and see those British institution adverts. But I was there. Yeah, I don't remember too much about it apart from getting that elbow to the gob. But your joke backfired, mate, because I am old.
Yeah, you didn't think I would be that old, but it turns out I am. You must have been similar age to what your son is now. That's
I was 10 actually, to be fair.
10, so a bit older.
Older, yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a seismic moment for the club. There's a really good article on the club website that sort of dips into the history. But it was still promotion, and this was the season before our previous owner bought us out. So it was the kind of like last of the years of being a kind of struggling lower league club without significant financial backing from a multi-millionaire owner. I guess like wider question when it comes to the match itself, AF, is like what are you hoping for the Carabao Cup this year? The likes of Sammy is gone on record saying that he feels like it's his favourite competition for some reason. Not that he's actually said that, but we're all reading between the lines following his head loss from the penalty shootout against Preston last year. But yeah, what do you want from the Cup? Are we expecting a full rotated squad? Yeah, what are you expecting from this one?
Piers has already pretty much named the lineup, but imagine if you were a Cambridge defender right now and you were thinking, I'm literally about to face what should probably be in 2-3 weeks their Premier League starting attack. I would be absolutely petrified if I was them. What am I looking for? And I would never say this with it being on a podcast, but here we are. I'm looking for a record cup win ever. At home against Cambridge, you're thinking if that attack starts, you're saying to each one of those players as well, right, look, if you perform really, really well, then you're probably looking at maybe a starting spot. But performing really, really well against Cambridge isn't scoring one goal. It's literally just like absolutely being rampant for an entire Tuesday night. I am quite concerned for the health of the Cambridge fans. I've heard of a lot of them are going. If you're really into that kind of sadomasochism, like rubbish, whatever. But it seems as though they're in for a very interesting night.
Yeah, on that point, McComish got in touch with a question saying, all I can say is poor Cambridge. A lot of our subs have got a point to prove to try and get into the team. And the likes of Kevin starting again, no disrespect to Cambridge, but League 2 opposition, you see what you can do against Premier League opposition. Could be in for a long night, those fullbacks. But all-time cup win would be nice, wouldn't it? But best of luck to all of the Cambridge supporters coming up. Hope you enjoy the evening. And if you're going tomorrow night, give them a good cheer. And I think that'll do for today. So all that's left for me to do is thank my guests, Drew. Pleasure as always, mate. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Everybody check out fulhamish.co.uk. Got lovely content coming out every day. Give us a little subscribe. Thank you very much.
There you go. Piers, lovely to see you.
Thanks for having me. See you all at Cambridge for this record thumping of their attendance versus home attendance, or the score in the football game. I don't know which of the two we're talking about the record being.
I'd take either. AF, have you got a favourite 3-word review that we can name this pod before we wrap up?
As much as I'd like to call it Harry Wilson's Bitches, we're not going to get that one through. So I'll go with Harry Wilson's Vendetta, which is the PC version of that. And that's from Cam Calderon.
Yeah, their heads will know. We'll read between the lines. The ones that listen to the end will get the reference. But yeah, thanks a lot, lads. It was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to that one. Have a great week. Enjoy Cambridge tomorrow night. Come on, you Whites.